Breaking news in hockey, Washington Capitals star Alex Ovechkin is the all-time leading goal scorer in NHL history. The Great Eight scored his 895th career goal on a second-period power play against the New York Islanders, breaking the record held by that guy, the great one, Wayne Gretzky, for 31 years. And Ovechkin sets the record in his 1,487th career game, which is the same amount Gretzky played in his legendary career. Ovi, just a part of hockey royalty. As you take a look at the most career goals in NHL history, now surpasses Wayne Gretzky as the leading NHL all-time goal scorer. And you see a look at the other hockey royalty names. History was made. The storylines just write themselves in this one. Ovi breaks the record against the Islanders, the same team Gretzky got his last goal against to make the record. For much more on this historic day in the NHL, let's go ahead and welcome in Todd Fuhrman and Pete Blackburn. Gentlemen, so great to see you. Let's just start, Pete, with your initial thoughts of Ovi breaking a record that many thought would never be broken.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and I think the word that comes to mind for me here is momentum. Like, he has so much momentum, and I think over the past year, people shifted from thinking that it would never be broken to how would it be broken. And for me, last year, I remember talking about it and saying, I don't want it to be sad. I don't want it to be drawn out. Like, I don't want Ovi to be scoring like 5, 10 goals a year, 15 goals a year, and getting to it slowly. No, he's doing this right now in a season where he's getting 40-plus goals at 39 years of age. He broke his leg earlier this season, and then this late season surge in goal scoring got him there quicker than a lot of us expected, whether it was a year ago, whether it was 2 weeks ago. Like, I don't think that we expected him to have this much momentum when he broke the record at 39 years old. And that, to me, is sort of how unbelievable all of this is because Alex Ovechkin is very near the top of his production and who he is as a player. Like, he is not slowing down whatsoever, so it is great to see him still be an unbelievable goal scorer at the time that he breaks this record.
You know, Pete, I think you used the perfect word here because a lot of us speculated, to your point, that this was going to be a Capitals team struggling for an identity. What were they going to sacrifice in a de facto rebuild to allow Ovi to kind of break this record? Last year, they limped into the playoffs and were easily dispatched by the Rangers. So going into the offseason, it was what could the Caps do to surround Ovi with some of the playmakers that would allow him to try and break this record, but also not completely make the franchise irrelevant. Here we are with the Capitals running away with the Metropolitan Division, Ovi breaking the record and doing it at a ridiculous pace despite missing 16 games with that broken leg. I mean, you look at the goal scoring leaders this year. I mean, Ovi's one of 3 guys that has more than 40 goals on his resume. He's doing it a goals per 60 clip that's as good as anybody in the league right now. Only mentioned in the same breath as Leon Draisaitl. So this has been nothing short of incredible. And the other thing that I think is worth highlighting, look, you have to give Ovi a tremendous amount of respect. He had a chance on Friday night against the Blackhawks to potentially do it with a hat trick with an empty net. He told head coach Spencer Carberry that he wanted to do it with a goalie in the crease. And what Ovi can do after tonight, he can add yet another goaltender to the list of goalies that he scored on in this illustrious quest to join hockey immortality.
I'm glad that you both brought up how this would be broken. We all knew that he wanted to avoid that empty netter on Friday night, and the storyline is unbelievable how this wrote itself, really, with Ovi obviously breaking the record against the Islanders, Gretzky getting his last goal to set the record against the Islanders. I absolutely love it. But Pete, coming back to you on this, what does this really say about Ovechkin that he has scored so many of his record-setting goals later in his career?
Well, I think it speaks to how he needed to get here to begin with. Like, the longevity and the consistency of that production over a 2-decade span is what you need to get to match Wayne Gretzky and now surpass Wayne Gretzky. That's why it was considered such an unbreakable record, because it was unfathomable to think about a goal scorer scoring 40, 50, 60 goals for that long and that consistently. And, you know, that's the Russian machine never break of it all. Like, he was never injured for a significant portion of time before breaking his leg this season. And even that didn't stop him. And he played in a dead puck era where goaltending was on the rise and goal scoring was on a dip. The fact that he's been able to do it in this age and with the heaviness that he plays his brand of hockey, like we're gonna be talking about a guy that not only owns the all-time goals record, but the all-time hits record in NHL history as well. He's a guy who plays heavy and plays in a tough era of hockey. So for him to do it is just, it really is unfathomable, yet here we are.
To your point, Pete, I mean, this is a guy that's going out there and playing a lot better two-way game at this point in his career than we ever thought was possible. I mean, you dig into some of the numbers and you just figured this was going to be a guy that would go out there, score goals, and not to be a naysayer on that, what he's been able to do to achieve this record while throwing around his body. I mean, where he's going to be mentioned in terms of the hits he's doled out, not exactly a list of who's who in terms of overall goal scorers. And this day and age, you look at players like a Sidney Crosby who plays a 200-foot game, like a Jack Eichel. It's so much different to try and see Ovi inflict his level of pain, not just on opposing netminders, but throw his body around with reckless abandon in terms of the physicality he brings. You know, and I felt pretty fortunate to see Ovi achieve one of the greatest team goals he'll have on his resume, winning the Stanley Cup in T-Mobile in the Knights' inaugural season. And you could see that collective sigh of relief. Since that point, he feels like he's played a little bit more free and unencumbered, that he could chase some of the individual accolades to go along with having his name engraved on the Stanley Cup. And we'll see what Ovi can do to spearhead a deep run in the postseason. One I'm skeptical of the Caps being able to achieve, but the fact he's been able to score goals and dole out hits all at the same time, it's a far cry from the kind of game that we've seen from some of the elite scoring threats in the NHL over the last 25 to 30 years.
Aside from Ovechkin himself and really the Washington Capitals organization, what does this actually mean? Put into perspective what this record actually means for the entire league, Todd, and also for hockey fans all over.
I think any time that you have a player in the modern era have a chance to flirt with names like Wayne Gretzky and company, it's nothing short of incredible. And I think Pete brought up one of the most important points about all of this. Ovi came into the game in an era where it wasn't about scoring goals the same way that we saw where teams were filling up the net with 5-6 a night back in the 1980s. He was able to persevere. He was able to change his game. And the consistency with which he played throughout the course of his career that doesn't appear to be slowing down is something that I think all of us should cherish from a longevity standpoint and consistency. So when we talk about hockey immortality, we know Wayne Gretzky's assist record, probably one that's never going to be touched. And as you continue to try and find players in the current game that may be able to play another 600-700 games to flirt with the goal record that Ovi is still going to add to the remainder of this season, next season, and maybe beyond that, there aren't a whole lot of names currently in the game. So, like always, records are made to be broken. You begin to speculate about what the next 25 to 30 years will hold. The likes of Leon Draisaitl and Austin Matthews, they're going to have a long, long way to go if Ovi is going to break through 900 like we all expect and maybe have a chance to flirt with that 1,000-goal threshold, something I don't think hockey fans ever envisioned being a real possibility.
Yeah, for me, it's more about just kind of pushing the game forward, right? Because you're talking about a new generation of fans who are going to think about Alexander Ovechkin as the best goal scorer of all time and not Wayne Gretzky like it was for 3+ decades. And I think that that's important is because you're talking about a lot of young people who are going to have the opportunity to say, well, I saw this guy play. I saw the best goal scorer of all time play. And I think that that's important to kind of push forward. You're not hearing, these old guys tell you about somebody that you've never seen before. The highlights are all grainy and they're all 360p or in black and white. It's important that a guy who is this sort of new to the game, this contemporary, has done it and has broken what was previously seen as an unbreakable record. And you could talk about the Gretzky's assist record, and as unbreakable as it seems right now, well, people said the same thing about the goals record for the most part, and so here we are. I don't think you can truly say anything is unbreakable, but the fact that we have a guy that we've been able to watch for the last 20 years as this game has been pushed forward and as it's evolved, and has been able to be one of the all-time greats, and now is the all-time great in terms of goal scoring, I think that's important for the future generation and pushing the game forward.
Here's the thing, 39 years old in his 20th NHL season. It makes you wonder how much longer he can actually go, but his diet needs to be studied. You guys know, you see him when he's arriving to the plane right into the tarmac. He's always carrying his Subway sandwich. He's got his Flamin' Hot Cheetos. You have LeBron James, one of the greats, obviously, in the NBA, who spends just so much money on his diet, his training, taking care of his body, his recovery. You got Tom Brady, who obviously the TB12 method. Guys, how is he still productive at this age? This diet needs to be studied, Todd Fuhrman.
I mean, look, Jordan, apparently we should all be eating more Flaming Hot Cheetos. We should all be drinking Diet Pepsi on the bench. And when you look at Mario Lemieux, he was ripping heaters in the tunnel as a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So while this may stand in the face of modern sports nutrition, and I'm sure Nathan McKinnon sees this goal-scoring record and absolutely cringes knowing what he does around nutrition and his off-ice regimen, I guess this creates all sorts of opportunity for incorporating Diet Pepsi and vodka as the staples if you want to go out there and flirt with all-time records. And if we think about Ovi for the lasting iconic images, that belly celebration is right up there, but I'll put him jumping in the fountains in DC in the wake of celebrating arguably the longest hangover in sports history when the Caps won the Stanley Cup. You have to imagine that Ovi's going to cherish this one just the same, and maybe then even more so.
Yeah, it's like the juxtaposition, the relatable legend, the relatable icon who is doing things to his body that we all do to ours and feel bad about it, but yet he gets to do it and become one of the all-time greats, while like guys like Connor McDavid are doing these pushing forward with whatever sort of training, jumping into an ice bath or whatever. Ovi's crushing beers after tying the record. It is unbelievable, and it's kind of part of the Ovechkin lore. To answer a question that was put at the beginning, like how long can he do this? I really think at this point, it would be against all of us, our better interest, to doubt him for how long he can keep doing it, because he's been doing it longer than any of us ever could have imagined. I really think it's up to him. And I think that he's talked about whether or not he wants to continue playing beyond next year, the final year of his current contract, or whether he wants to go back to the KHL and start a new chapter there and finish out his career in Russia back home. I wonder what kind of mentality changes he might experience as that goal total continues to climb, and as he can put more and more distance between his name and Wayne Gretzky's name, second on the all-time list. We'll see what happens, but I really do think at this point it's not our decision or not our judgment to end Ovechkin's career and put a bow on it. It's his own decision.
Yeah, and one thing's for sure, we're smart enough to just not bet against Alex Ovechkin. We know that for sure. Well, gentlemen, as we put a bow on this conversation, we look at some of the talent across the league right now. You think about Sidney Crosby, who's next among active players with 622 career goals at this point. Todd, I'll come to you first on this. How long before this mark is broken?
Oh, look, I mean, to Pete's point, we talk about records and thinking they're never going to be broken, and you go through to try and see the players on the active list. None of those names are going to come close to flirting with what Ovechkin has done. They're all in the respective twilight of their very decorated careers. So you go further down the list and you look at Leon Draisaitl and what he's been able to accomplish, knowing that the goals are going to keep coming if he's able to stay healthy, when you have a running mate and a guy who is more than happy to facilitate in Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, and some of the big-time gaudy goal-scoring numbers he's putting up as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But it's just so difficult to be able to forecast down the road. So you want to say that the next generation is always going to have an opportunity to flirt with that historical level of greatness, because to a point that Pete made earlier, it's all about handing the baton on down the line to allow that next group of hockey fans to say, you know what? I remember player X when they were playing at a high level. We didn't have a chance to see Wayne Gretzky in his prime, or they don't remember seeing Alexander Ovechkin with some of these iconic feats. So you always hope that there's that next generation of superstar looking to go out there and kind of break the records being set by the greats that preceded them. And the one thing I'll say before I flip it to you, Pete, at least it continues to happen against the New York Islanders. So 25 to 30 years from now, Islanders fans will be able to suffer even more misery than the fan base has since they won their last Stanley Cup.
That felt unnecessary, but I respect it. I don't know who the next name is going to be. I don't know if we know that next name even yet. Like, I don't know if we've heard the name. I just think for the next name, if there is one, a lot of things are going to have to go right. Like, they're going to have to stay healthy. They're going to have to stay consistent. They're going to have to be productive. They're going to have good teammates that push them along over the course of a multi-decade career. It's just, there are going to be so many things that are up in the air when it comes to breaking this record, and you know, it's unfathomable right now, but it was unfathomable to think about it happening to Wayne Gretzky and having him be passed. So right now, I think our job is to appreciate what Alexander Ovechkin is doing and how long this record might last. But I'm not going to say there won't be another name, but we just don't know it yet.
We'll leave it there, gentlemen. We'll focus on that another time, but for now, we'll soak all of this in as we all just got to witness history be made. As you take a look at where we're at the UBS Arena from New York. By the way, game has yet to resume as the celebration and party on the ice just continues for Alex Ovechkin. I'm sure puck will drop momentarily as the Islanders are up 2-1 over the Washington Capitals, but the story remains. Alex Ovechkin is now your all-time leading goal scorer in NHL history.